This is a subject that makes me feel deeply inside every time I think about it. It makes me shivers sometimes. And I cannot explain how much it exists around us, but it's just here to distort our society. It's here to make us not what who we are, away from the human. I'm going to start with a story. I am Amina. Today, I'm going to tell a story. Of course, this is from her side. How my childhood was stolen from me when I was only 10 years old. I was a lively child, like anyone. A very friendly, nice child, with a family of my own, with brothers and sisters, and a father who used to love me. Every day he used to go to his office, kiss me on my forehead. Until that day when I was faced with an uncle, a friend of my father, who was staying with us, made me do things that I never intended or never wanted. And I cannot explain what changed in my life, but everything that I remember I used to do before. So this subject basically is a taboo, and it's a subject that exists in the very society of our Pakistan. Pakistan is one of the world's most important Muslim nations. It is a nuclear power, and it's allied to the West for war on terrorism. But we also have the problem that we are in consistent and continuous denial of the sexual exploitation of many millions of children. The recent resolution, if anybody has ever come across, that was passed in parliaments of Pakistan, was against, of course, the resolution was against child marriages, and it was opposed by guess who? The Islamic Council of Islamic Ideology. They opposed it. Child marriages. They said, no, this is against, because Islam does not establish any age for marriage. So, I mean, how could you fight it when it's being opposed and clearly opposed and there is nobody talking about it? It's a huge dilemma we face today. So child abuse is not recognized as abuse by some tradition, interpretations. For example, underage marriages are common in Pakistan. We know that there are many children. Of course, they're not fully developed, and they cannot go into such marriages. Of course, due to several hundreds of reasons. Some of them are psychological, some of them are physical, and so on and so forth. For example, in the areas of Fata, another tradition takes place. In Urdu, they call it Bachabazi, and this is a horrible tradition wherein male children are involved in sexual activity with adult men who keep these children in their homes for their own pleasure. This tradition goes back centuries. I mean, it's a horrible tradition. I mean, I feel sometimes very disgusting to explain it to you. And it's common in Iran, Afghanistan, and of course tribal areas of Pakistan, and some areas in Pakistan, other cities as well. Sometimes marriages also takes place. I mean, this is another complete dimension where you're actually forcing a boy to marry another man just because for the sake of stupid traditions. And then comes the incest part. Incest exists, whereby you force your you're into some kind of sexual contact with your siblings, and your people around you, or the very relations that you have, from your real uncles to real aunties, and so on and so forth. So what happens is, this basically is denying justice to children who continue to be exploited by people who usually are either caretakers or family members. This crime hardly gets revealed, and no legal repercussions are usually following against the perpetrators because of the silence of the family members. I mean, they are like shy. How could they go and tell somebody, for example, an uncle has done something to the daughter, or is involved, or the kid himself is under a guilt feeling that he could not go out and talk about it and tell his parents that this is happening to him, and somebody is forcing him or luring him into an activity which he actually reflects, this activity is going to reflect in his entirety of his life. So this makes me sometimes sick of thinking how the victims of abuse become psychologically impaired, because they have no one to turn to for their protection and stopping of the abuse. You have the law. Law is not supporting you. Your family, and family is not supporting you either. Everybody say, just keep it quiet. Just, khalas, koi baat nahi karni uske bare mein. This is what exactly happens in our society, how these kids. And then you have those 1.4 million children that we just mentioned here, who just lives out there, out on the street. Victim, 90% of them are already victim, proven by research. There is a difference between sexual abuse and sexual exploitation, which needs to be understood in the context of children. Sexual exploitation mainly refers to the frequent rape of children who are used against their consent. Whereas in sexual abuse, children are manipulated for sexual gratification, or many of them do not even understand what is happening to them. This is a dilemma. These children just become victims of these activities simply because of the pressure or the environment or the luring activity those people bring in. Candies, chocolates, trips, gifts, what have you, and then encourage them to do it. At such, of course, age, they cannot differentiate between right and wrong. We have to understand that 9-year or 10-year or 8 years kid, I cannot even imagine somebody thinking towards them to do something which is nasty and not human, because this is, for me, it's completely against. I know I'm a religious reader myself. I read almost all the texts from Bible to Quran and everything. And sometimes, yes, there are accusations on Islam, especially for not putting through some specific addresses. But if you read Islam, if you read Quran, it basically tells you to be very humble. It tells you to be nice to people. It tells you not to take advantage. And the most of all, the instruction from God is, do not exceed. And the exceeding limits have been clearly defined in all the textbooks. And people were punished. And they will be punished. So, these are problems that are creating psychological problems for kids. Pakistan, everything is being taken easy. No work being done properly to organize or create awareness on this stuff. People don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. Does it make sense? No. We have almost everybody has some experience of this sort in our lives. if not directly related to us, somebody who we know has been through this. Then you have these truck drivers, the people, the individual people who carry those elements, weapons of their own minds, destruction around us. The pickup drivers, those people who we are supposed to trust to bring our children to and from locations and be safe guardians of them. They start exploiting them at ages and, making them sick for a later age. When they become adults, they have a different mentality versus what they should be having. On the other hand, while this is all happening on pedophilia in Pakistan, we are not nice to our kids. We don't treat our kids nicely enough. For everything that we want our kid to do is by force. We don't want to negotiate with kids. For some reason, we have a barrier in front of us. This is a kid. We're not supposed to negotiate. He's supposed to listen to us. I mean, come on. We could put conditions. We could do things that can encourage them to do things that we want, instead of forcing them every time to do things that we want them to do for us. I know I can talk on this subject for forever. Pedophilia is a curse, and it needs to be dealt with heavy hand. It is a very common practice, and nobody here takes note of it, despite the fact that it occurs under our very nose. So what I'm going to tell you is the way I see it can be handled is first acknowledging it, that it is happening, and it is happening around us. Thank you very much.
Who do you think is responsible, the most responsible party in this scenario?
Parents.
All right. What is the deficit the parents are? What is the deficit of the parents?
They are not treating their children right.
How?
And that led them to not have the confidence in their parents.
What is the treatment that you are specifically referring to?
First of all, when the problem happens, address it. Talk to it. To go and fight for the guy.
Just think for 1 minute that this scenario has happened. This scenario has happened to one of us.
Okay.
Suppose it is with me.
Okay.
If my mom is telling me something like that, the case will be like Samin's. That will go to an honor killing. Definitely, we will not.
Yeah, I even mentioned that.
उस पर देखी जो बंदा इससे इन्फ्लुएंस हुआ, जो टारगेट हुआ, आपने बॉल मूवी देखी?
नहीं,
But there is a way आप के खिलाफ केस कर सकते हो. Honor killing is not a way.
ऑनर किलिंग वो बेटा आपका काफी फिर रहा है.
That is actually society ये रैप करती है. Like they talk about it. ठीक है, फिर वो ताने वगैरह शुरू होते हैं. तो उसकी वजह से
I am connecting three aspects. One is.
I'll come back to 1 second. Let me answer you. If you are affected, the first thing I would like you to do is confront it. Okay? Address it. Talk about it. Let everybody know about it.
But what do you think is the way to break the taboo of sharing this element with your parents? Because there is a barrier.
That's what I'm
There
saying.
will
When
always
you
be a
treat
barrier.
your children right,
Like there will always be a barrier between a
There will
child.
always
No,
be a barrier.
when you give enough comfort to your children to open up with you for anything, they will come back.
Nobody just comes up
I'm
and
telling you,
tells.
if the kid was forced into it, for example, I'll give you an example of my kids. When they are watching a movie and there is a scene comes up of, let's say, kissing or anything which is adult related, they put their hands on their eyes. Why? Did I tell them to do it? Did I force them to do it? Why they do not watch the adult things? Because I made an agreement with them. I said, I will not watch the cartoon channels, you don't watch my channels. And they understand it. When there is such something happens, I stop myself and I do it, and they do it because I used to do it for them. Now, it's us who give them the comfort. It's not the other way around. It's nobody is going to give them enough comfort, so they come to us and explain their problems and tell their secrets, even if there are any secrets. I mean, this has led to some problems as well for me today. For example, my kids are telling me something they shouldn't be telling. Khalas, some stuff, do it yourself. But that we need to go to that extent to give them the kind of comfort they need to execute those things.
They contact family,
But
friends.
same thing, I mean, I would connect 2 or 3 things together.
Yeah,
Literacy,
yeah.
ennui, pedophilia, overexposure, use of mobile phones, all are connected.
Definitely, this is a test world. You are here to be tested, and this is how you will be tested.
Base lies on the literacy rate of this country.
Agreed. Yes.
The more you are educated.
Well, I tell you what, literacy is going to help you a lot, but you have to go beyond literacy as well.
Literacy does not mean that you can know how to read or write.
Yeah, it's simple. In everything you do, I'm just going to, because if you tell me to talk on this one, I can talk for the entire day. You have a problem in your culture. Who said culture somewhere? Yeah. What is the problem in the culture? You want your child to be in the front seat, front row of every single orchestra or anything that you attend. But in the masjid when you go, they send your kid back. Habibi, why? What's the problem with him standing there? I have had several fights on this one. So you get the point. There is problem. Okay. Yes, all of those need to be addressed, but each one needs its own importance. Each one has its own way